But yeah, you were talking about obviously you're learning to play the guitar. Tell us how are you progressing? Is there
I
anything, is there anything Dr. K can help you with apart from
um
making the strings a lot easier and pleasurable to play? Because you've got to not dread picking up the guitar because it's going to hurt. You don't want to pick up the guitar because it's going to sound pleasing.
Yeah, I was really strict with myself because because I enjoyed it, so it wasn't that hard to do it in the beginning. So I was having 3 Zoom lessons a week for nearly a whole year, and I was like completely focused on it. And then I must admit, I've had another job for the last few months, and it's taken up so much of my time that I've been practicing maybe once a week, and I feel that I'm forgetting everything. So my other job's coming to an end, and I'm like, right, I need to find my guitar mojo again.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised all the people that you've interviewed that nobody's offered one-to-one lessons for you. But
well, I have actually, yes.
yeah, I thought so. I thought so. I thought I might get on the right track. Feel
Yeah,
free to edit anything out anyway, Kylie. That we
you know, that's fine. Joel, God, I can never say his surname. Joel, you know, from Whitesnake.
yes, yes, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
he actually,
Joel.
interviewed him a few weeks ago, and he
Yeah,
said, oh, I think I'd be able to really help you with some stuff. So
yeah. I bet. Yeah, yeah. I think I could as well.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure
so
you could.
getting onto the basics. I mean, obviously we talk about learning the guitar, but obviously lots of people, students are at different levels, aren't they? So it's hard to know where to come in. You
Yeah.
know. By the way, and I have trouble pronouncing Joel's surname also, and I hope he forgives me for that. But
Is it Holsker? Holsker?
yeah, but I can advocate anyone out there who wants to check out Joel from Whitesnake, check out his lessons and his guitar because they're really good. Everyone will get something from
Yeah.
that. He's a fine player. I've never met Joel, but like to just say hi. Yeah, check Joel's stuff out there because he takes the time out to do that, and it is very helpful. And there's lots of good stuff out there on the internet, as you know. But like I say, the one-to-one thing, I think it's if you can get one-on-one tuition, I would advise it. I think really, you know.
Yeah, it's just almost like so I've started I still try and have a lesson once a week now with my guitar teacher that lives around the corner. And even sometimes I feel like we're not actually learning anything, but we'll just sit
Yeah,
there. I almost jam with him a little bit. Like he'll
yeah.
teach me a little blues riff thing, and then we just play it together. And I love that. I love it.
It's like learning a language. I continue to try and learn Spanish, and you go online and stuff, and there's always going to be points where you'd like to stop the lesson and ask questions.
Hmm.
That's where the one-to-one thing comes in when
Yeah.
you're not quite sure if you've interpreted the lesson parts
Yeah.
correctly or not. You know.
No, I agree.
Um,
How often are you playing now? Do you still pick up a guitar every day?
I wouldn't say every day. I get busy. I get doing things as you obviously do. Um, but obviously I've done a lot of it in my life. Um, but the main thing is the more you can school yourself properly earlier on, the more it will hold you in good stead. Like
Yeah.
now, I don't have to pick up the guitar and learn and think, oh, I need to get to grips with the harmonic minor scale or the melodic minor, or to get to grips with the modes or so. I've heard about this thing, the modes, So if I've done all of that, it's like conjugating verbs, for example. If you've done that
It's
and you've
just
done
there.
that lesson, then it's just there.
All there, should we say? All there.
Yeah, yeah. So um, it's one of those things that we all of these things, let's try and get to grips with that as soon as we can, and then later on you can concentrate on songwriting, for example, or concentrate on improvising solos and amalgamating different scales,
Yeah.
um, and and the cool stuff, the fun stuff.
Yeah, which is what we all want to do, the cool, fun
Yeah.
stuff. I mean,
So
I listen to guys like yourself, and you just rip out these guitar solos, and it's the kind of, oh, I just wish I could do that. I just wish. And I know it's probably never going to happen for me, just because, well, God, I'm going to have to be playing for years for
yeah,
that kind of stuff to
and
happen.
and that's why if you can get really good lessons, people can clarify things that seem like all fog and mist, you know, and something that's complicated and you'll never get to grips with it. If somebody can explain it properly, it's a lot easier than you think.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people won't believe that, but it is, you
Yeah, no,
know.
I sort of get what you mean, because it can be overwhelming sometimes when you look at it. If you're, on YouTube and someone's explaining something, it's like,
One thing I'd like to go, you know, whatever you might edit out of this video, because I know we might talk, it might go on too long, but
there'll
I,
definitely be two parts.
I think what I'm about to say for younger players, newer players, or whatever, is the fact that, you know, if we lift the bonnet to our car and we look in there, we just close it back down. We don't even want to go there. You know, it's just too complex and so much we don't know. And let me tell the story. The first time I walked into a professional recording studio, and I looked at the mixing console. Can you imagine what you have a vision of what a mixing console looks like? You know, 36 channel, 48, 56. And
Yeah.
you've got thousands of knobs and sliders, you know, thousands. You think to yourself, how does anybody ever learn to use this thing?
Yeah.
It's just monumental. But we have to twig this idea. If it's 56 channels, all of the strips, 56 of them, they do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Try to get this because I'm going to convert this onto the guitar neck in a minute.
Right.
So then when you look at the console, which is probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches wide, and you think everything is repeated, then you start to think, well, hang on, once I learn how this one works, all the rest is the same, right?
Yeah.
So this concept now, I'm going to jump straight onto the piano.
Right. Okay.
Because it's the first time you can walk in and see a piano and you see all of the notes on the piano and you think, oh, how does anybody get to grips with all of that? You know, so this is very, very important for people that are thinking about getting into the guitar or just got into the guitar. So essentially, we've got what we call octaves on the piano, and each octave you can relate to as a module on that mixing desk.
Yeah.
So these octaves are split up and they repeat themselves. Usually on a grand piano 7, there's 7 octaves. However many octaves you've got on a guitar, they're all like a module or an octave, and there's an amount of them, right? But they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So on a piano, if you divide the octaves, you've only got 12 notes.
Yeah.
And you've got 6 other octaves with exactly the same notes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The only difference between all of these octaves, just like on a guitar, is they have a higher or lower pitch.
Yeah.
Because the strings are thicker or tighter or looser. Right?
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
It's crazy.
So
You only need to
essentially,
know one octave, basically.
you can play everything in one octave. So when you look at all the different octaves on a guitar, to go from the low E to the very, on a 24 fret guitar, to the very high E, right? you've got 4 octaves in that span. They're all the same, but they just sound different because they're higher pitch, they're higher or lower.
Yeah.
Because we find that desirable, obviously, when it comes to creating music, to have that dimension.
Yeah, it's great.
So we've got the different octaves to use, but this is where I'm coming from, is the fact that on a piano, it's a lot easier because everything's in one long row.
Mm.
So you create the first 12 notes, and you can put a piece of colored tape on it. You know, that can be yellow. The next 12 can be red, but they're all the same. They just sound higher or lower.
Yeah.
So don't get daunted, which is where I'm coming from, by the amount of knobs there are and sliders on a mixing console, or the amount of notes there are and octaves there are on a piano, or the amount of notes or octaves on a guitar, because they repeat themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so when you learn a major scale in one of the octaves, it repeats itself exactly the same in the other octaves.
Yeah.
The notes are exactly the same. And I'll correct myself here, because in other countries, they do have more notes in their scale because they use, without being complicated, we only have whole tones and half tones. Other countries like India have quarter tones.
Yeah.
And that to me is another world, and that's why when we hear a sitar, we think, is that in tune? Or when Indian people, for example, or in Indonesia are singing, we think, it sounds out of tune to me. But they're using quarter tones, which we're not familiar with.
Have you ever tried to do any? Have you ever tried to go down that route and try it? Because obviously that.
Absolutely not, because to me, tonally, it doesn't sound right.
It fucks with your head too much, yeah.
It doesn't sound right. But having said that, blues players will use the quarter tone. They will push a bend, not up to the semitone.
Okay.
You know, they'll just tweak it a little bit, and it works really nice, you know, used properly. So all of these things in music we need to learn. So it's a massive journey. It's a language. It's a lifetime of learning. But the thing is, you can get to grips with most of it. Get a good teacher. Learn the shortcuts if you can.
Yeah.
Try to learn the shortcuts. Don't be put on the wrong track. And everything I'm saying now, make the whole instrument less daunting. Understand it, that it's a lot smaller than you think.
Mm.
The octave only goes,
yeah, I guess in that sense, yeah,
so long, and then it repeats itself, and that will make your guitar playing so much easier. There's so many shortcuts, to be fair, you know, that maybe I'll do some tutorials one day, you know, but it's having the time and
I think you'll be very busy if you do tutorials. I don't think you would have a problem. Yeah, I think everyone would be super keen.
First step as a teacher to anybody learning the guitar, learn exactly what I've just said. It's not daunting at all once you understand the concept that everything repeats itself.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of notes on that fretboard, but they're all duplicated.
Yeah.
Because we find it desirable to play things higher up with more treble, and then lower down with more bass. It gives us those dimensions help us to create things more dynamic,
Yeah.
you know, as players.
So do you, when you're at home, and are you playing an acoustic, or do you have your flying V when you're at home? You do?
Oh yeah.
Really?
I've got, they're in most rooms. There'll be a flying V or a Strat, yeah, for sure.
Because they're not easy to play, are they, flying Vs? I mean, I remember I was at Gibson and they had one on the wall and I was like, oh, let me try it. And so I picked it up and I remember I posted a picture of myself with it and someone was like, why are you holding a flying V like that? And I was like, because I've never held one before. I have no idea how you meant to hold it because I just had it across my lap. But of course, you stick it sort of
Yeah,
in your
no,
leg, don't you?
it'll slide off. You know, there was a period where Gibson actually put a rubber grip
This,
on the
this
on the
one had,
lower.
yeah, this one had a rubber grip on it
Yeah,
actually.
no, no, that's nonsense. It's got to go between. It's got to go between the legs. Trust me, it has
Yeah.
to.
Is
Um,
that was my first lesson with a flying V without even realizing it. I had it in all the wrong places.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I say, as that young, I just had the vision that the flying V was the future. I didn't know it was going to be the future of metal at the time because heavy metal didn't exist at the time. But to me, it was the way forward, you know. So and now it's become the staple kind of thing
Do you
in
still have
metal.
that first one?
Yeah. So
And I heard you paid 500 quid for it, which in what 19 when was
well,
it 1973 must have
it
been
was
an
it
absolute
was
fortune.
it was a massive amount of money really then. And in fact, you've just reminded me because I'm actually gonna. Michael Schenker's actually playing up in Wolverhampton on Saturday in a few days' time. So with Doro supporting, so I'm going to go up to that gig. It's going to be great. So I'm no doubt Michael will remind me again because he came up to Birmingham to buy that guitar, but I'd gone in and bought it, I believe, on the morning that he came up from London.
No, you're
Yeah,
joking.
because they were so rare to those 1967 Vs. They only made 111 of them. So I'm very sorry about that, Michael. But I'd gone in and I nicked it on the, you know, every time I see Michael, he says, "Oh, okay, you have my guitar," and I'm going, "No, no, Michael, it's mine. I paid the 500 quid for it."
Oh my God, what do you think that's worth now then? That's
Oh,
stupid.
lots of money, but there you go. Don't tell Michael. But so yeah, it's going to be a great night. I'm looking forward to seeing Michael. I haven't seen him for a while. That'd be great.
Oh, that is brilliant. That are you gonna play with him? Are you gonna join him on stage?
No, no, no. You know, no, I did that with Dave Ellison. I did that with Ross the Boss, and look at all the trouble that got me into. Now I'm in KK's Priest, and I'm looking hopefully to go out on tour and come and play you guys some great gigs. But I hope that little bit of insight into the instrument is not as daunting as you think.
No.
Nowhere near. So that is the first thing you need to learn.
Yeah.
Everything is repeated. It's just a higher pitch. It's in a different part of the guitar, but and that's why try to memorize all of the notes on the guitar because they are just repeated, and that will help you to memorize all of the notes. This repetition of these octaves.
So that I mean that's really insightful. I will go back and try and get my head around all of that. Um, so obviously with when you were with Priest and then you and Glenn were playing together in those early days and stuff, and you're kind of what made you both quite unique was that you did this kind of dual lead guitar thing. Where did the idea for that come? Because it was
Well,
having two lead guitarists is quite unusual.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, I was just there was only one guitar player in the band when I was with Alan Atkins, and also when Rob joined the band, we were a four-piece,
Hmm.
and that went on till about 73, 74, something like that, and 70, 74 maybe. But anyway, we did a lot of gigs, did a lot of shows, got a record deal. But the record company said, "Oh, too many bands have just been signed with the same lineup. You know, Led Zeppelin, Free, you know, Black Sabbath have just been signed with the same lineup. You know, would like to suggest you have a saxophone player." I said, "I don't think so. That's not really quite in the. That's not going to matter."
Can you
Uh,
imagine? Oh my
and
God.
and so you know, they said, "Well, I better a keyboard player." I'm going, "No, I'm not having none of it. It's not going to work." And because they said we'd really, we'll sign the band and we'll record the band, but we would be interested if you'd be interested to create a different lineup for us, And I thought, another guitar player would be really good, but different, because most bands like the Shadows and they would have a lead guitar player and a rhythm guitar player. So I thought if we had two lead players, that would really probably strengthen the lineup. Two rhythm players and two songwriters. Because there's lots of attributes there, and so I thought about it, and I thought it would be good. I could see the advantages because of obviously being able to play harmonies when I was playing a lead. It wouldn't, the sound wouldn't, go thin and drop out live. And so that was really, really cool. So, and Glenn just became available because his band had just split up. And so we made the connection and went forward from there.
Brilliant idea. I mean, it helped kind of create the kind of Priest sound, didn't it? So
yeah.
Much better than a saxophone.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest thing that you've tried to master on the guitar? Like something that you have just, like whether it be sweep picking or just something that took you a long while to master?
That's a good question, really. I think that however good you think you are at something, you can always complicate it and make it sound even a bit more exceptional, But I think in respect of that's a good question, really.
Something you hate doing, even like because it's a bit like for me, obviously I'm way behind you, but bar chords, I would avoid them. And actually the C chord, just the C major chord, I avoid that all as much as I can because I just find it too hard to play.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well, there's just some of the wonderful techniques that some people use. It so intrigues me when people are just playing. They don't use a pick at all. They just basically use the right hand.
Yeah.
And
Well, you mean kind of Eddie Van Halen style with the tapping, or?
Oh no, because that can be done with a guitar pick or with a finger.
Yes.
But when people use multiple fingers to do different tapping things, that's something you really need to practice hard at. I can't say I've actually gone there in any big way at all. Because
I wanted to try it.
No, but maybe I would. I would probably. I'm more kind of a bit more intrigued in kind of jazz than I would be going there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jazz really does kind of intrigue me.
Jazz is schizophrenic. Like it's nuts. It's like, yeah, that's really, like you say, it's a whole new level, isn't it?
It is really, but then again, when I kind of twigged that you can play a major scale, you can improvise with a major scale. But if you've got the rhythm player who's playing all of these extended chords underneath, it makes your C major have different flavors, So, so getting into jazz, again, there's some things you need to know that are not as complicated as you think, because there's not all of these complicated, well, I've got to say complicated scales that you need to be incorporating. It can be quite a bit simpler than that, even just C major and the harmonic minor, depending on what the chord structure is underneath. But that's where it becomes difficult. Some of the chord structures, getting your head in these extended chords, that is the world of jazz that I'd probably, if I had the time and inclination, I'd probably have a look at going there.
Trying some of the jazz stuff. Wasn't it Neil Peart from Rush that kind of, not left the band, but when they took a bit of a break, he kind of went off with some jazz really incredible jazz drummer and just was like completely relearned the craft. And it's,
Yeah, I know guitar play. I mean, as musicians, we get interested and intrigued by it, you know. I mean, uh, my good buddy Alex Skolnick, who's a wonderful player. I mean, he did that for quite probably 10 years, I think, had his jazz trio, you know. And but yeah, that's the wonderful world of music. But hopefully, you know, it's nice to be able to try and help guitar players to try and clear some of the mystification up, I think, as much as
I think that's
possible.
wonderful. So maybe KK's Priest could, the next album could be a jazz album. We're not ruling it out.
No, I don't think so. You know, I don't think so. But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful world, you know. But one thing's for sure, when I first started out, like I say, I not only skipped the blues, I also skipped classical and flamenco because really wanted to play those styles as well, you know. And but jazz has always been there, you know. As a musician, you want to be able to be the jack of all trades, really. But one day I thought, I've got to I'm just going to concentrate on what my real passion is and create there because I can't do it all. I don't want to be a jack of all trades. You know, I'm going to try and master this. And kind of that's what I did.
Which I think we're all grateful that you did, really.
Yeah, because even now there's not time to get into all of this, you know. You know,
So will you be touring the new record then?
absolutely. We're ready to rock. We're ready to roll. We just want the promoters to get together. I know there's a bit of a backlog because bands have been a couple of years waiting to fulfill all of their cancelled tours for the last couple of years. But we'll get in there at some point, and I'm looking forward to it.
And so, do you think you'll ever end up back in Priest again?
They kept the door closed for 10 years, so I gave up and I need to move on. I guess now, you know, it's absolutely, you know, I think now that I'm doing, I've been forced into doing what I'm doing, then yeah, then I'm in a happy place here because, like I said, I'd just like to clear up the misinformation of the fact that when I opted not to do the farewell tour because we were all going to retire, we were all going to end the band back in 2010. The farewell tour was planned. We did all of the press releases. We came up with the title for the farewell tour, the Epitaph tour. I just decided I wasn't going to do the farewell tour. So I thought they would get somebody in to fulfill that, and then it would end. I didn't realize that they would carry on for another 10 years.
No, it's a shame. It would be great.
But there you go. So obviously, all of the best of luck in the world with your guitar playing, and all of the viewers out there. If there's anything we can help with, please contact Kylie, and we'll get you an answer to any question about anything. You know, but great guitar players, so many great guitar players never ever learned anything to do with music theory, and they become great and wonderful. So it's not essential. I just find it helps to be able to turn it on and turn it off if you can. It helps.
Yeah. No, it's been great. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been really insightful to chat to you. Like I said, I love the new record. Thank you for the guitar tips. And I can't wait to see you out on the road.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, and we will be out there and we will be doing it. And I say, again, good luck to all the aspiring guitar players, including yourself, all over the world. And like I say, it's not as daunting as you might think it is. It really isn't. Try and find a good teacher, free of charge if you can.
Even better, yeah.
But I think it will definitely help you to help just to bounce things off and have someone to be able to ask questions and ask them, is this really as complicated? Should my guitar really be this hard to play? Should I really be getting all of these calluses as bad as I do. You know, should
Yeah.
I dread picking it up some days? You know, because I know I've got a lesson with you coming up and I need to catch up because something's not right if that's the case. It always has to be pleasurable and exciting to want to pick up the guitar, and you need to look forward to it.
Yeah. Cool. Brilliant. Thank you.
Brilliant, Kylie. All the
Thank
luck in the
you.
world with the podcast, and keep
Okay.
up the good work.